Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Inshallah ta'ala, tonight we're going to discuss a topic that, I've received a lot of questions over the past year from a lot of the community members. And I've noticed that a lot of people, they have a confusion on the subject of Salatul Istikhaarah, right? The prayer where you seek the counsel and guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah ta'ala, tonight we'll look over the dua, understand its meaning, the purpose of Istikhaarah, how you're supposed to do it, the prerequisites, and everything about it, inshallah ta'ala. And then of course, if there are still further doubts or confusions or any questions, of course, ask that during Q&A. Now, Istikhaarah, it comes from the word khair. And of course, we all know in Arabic khair, it means goodness, right? And so when you are making this salah or this dua of Istikhaarah, it's basically you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for khair. That's why you're making this dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That whatever decisions you're making in your life, whatever ventures that you're about to start, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put khair in that specific thing. And before getting into the actual hadith, which is recorded in Bukhari and Muslim and others, we will look at certain prerequisites of making Salatul Istikhaarah. And first and foremost, this is the most common misconception, that many people, they think that Istikhaarah is something like, if you make Istikhaarah, your wildest wishes come true. Right? It's nothing like that, right? That's not the point. It is purely to seek guidance and the counsel of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever decision that you have taken, to be blessed and be filled with goodness. So there is no concept like this that in Islam, that you say this dua, whatever you desire and wish will come true. That only happens in Disney cartoons, right? And usually it's always followed by or attached with some type of horrible thing that happens. Right? But anyways, so nothing like that in Islam exists. For anything in life, you're supposed to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that He is your creator, He's the one who gives. And He knows best how much to give to you or what not to give to you. The decision is His. But you, as a believer, as a servant, as a slave of Allah, your duty is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After that, it's up to Him how much to give, when to give, and what to give to you. So, Istikhaarah is a 3-step process. And the first step is to make a decision. Let's think of this, the easiest example. You want to buy a car. You make a decision first. Do you want to buy a Toyota, a Honda, a BMW, a Mercedes? What do you want? You make a decision, right? And then, of course, even if it's a Toyota, do you want to get a Camry, a Corolla, a Sienna, a 4Runner? What is it? You have to make a decision of some sort. And then maybe you're confused. Should I get a Camry or should I get a Corolla? But at least you narrow down your decision to a couple of things, 2 or 3 things. That's the first step. The second step is now to go to someone who truly loves you for the sake of Allah, cares for you, has knowledge about the situation, has experience and ilm, who can give you sincere nasiha, advice. And probably about 6-7 months ago, I had done that hadith here at EHT, that ad-dinun nasiha, the religion is sincere advice. Because not all advice is sincere. Many times you ask for advice, someone will give you advice that will actually make more of a mess. Because he has some type of hasad towards you, your position, whatever it may be the case. He's not giving genuine advice. So nasiha, which is an obligation, that when your brother asks for nasiha, asks for advice, it is an obligation upon you as a Muslim to offer him proper advice. So let's say you go to someone who knows about cars, who knows about your situation. If it's just you and your wife, okay, you know what, go with the Corolla. It's small, doesn't matter. You know, if you got 4 kids, someone might say, forget the Camry or the Corolla, you actually need a Sienna. Someone who knows your experience, right? What you're going through, your situation. And someone who knows about cars. That's the person you would go ask, and he would help in explaining certain things to you. That would give you more confidence in making a decision. Before, you were confused which one to go. You're still debating with yourself. Should I get this car or that car? But now that you went to a person of knowledge, a person who also understands your situation, he has helped you, facilitated for you to narrow down your decision even more. So now let's say you went with the Camry. Now the third step is you make Salatul Istikhaarah. So that's the third and final step. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses that decision for you and puts goodness in that decision for you and your family. So this is the 3-step process. A lot of times, and so many misconceptions happen, many people will think that I'm completely confused. I don't know what to do in life. Should I take this job or that job? He has no idea which one to take. He himself is confused. Then he goes and prays Salatul Istikhaarah. Whether it's done in the right way or not is a separate question. But inshallah we'll go through the sunnah way of doing it in a little bit. But let's suppose he does it. He knows how to do it according to the sunnah. But even then, because he himself is still confused, the Salatul Istikhaarah does not help him in any way. And he might say, you know, I made istikharah about this situation 20 times. I still don't have a conclusion. Because your heart doesn't have a conclusion. You don't know what you really want. You haven't made a decision. That's one misconception. Another misconception that many people have, that okay, am I going to marry this woman or that woman? Maybe he went and sat with 2 different families at the same time, which by the way is not, you're not supposed to do this. Okay? There's a hadith the Prophet ﷺ said, when you're prospecting someone for marriage, for both genders, you go one at a time. One person at a time, right? Culturally speaking, a lot of people, especially when it comes to a girl's family, the family may be talking to multiple men's families at the same time. This contradicts what the Prophet ﷺ said. This only confuses the woman more, right? So you go one person at a time when you're prospecting. But then you just confuse the person even more. That there's 3 people you just talked to in the past 1 week. Now the girl doesn't know who she wants to marry. They all sound nice. They all look good. Whatever may be the case. And according to the parents, they all make the same amount of money. Right? That's what the parents care about. So, but whatever the case, then you're just juggling and you're confused. But anyways, so let's suppose, back to this situation, where you're prospecting somebody. Many people think that maybe I'll have a dream. And then Allah will show me the woman's face that I'm supposed to marry, or the man's face that the sister is supposed to marry. This is also a misconception, right? This is not what istikharah does. Nowhere does it mention, there's no hadith whatsoever saying that that's what's going to happen, right? Then also, what is common in certain cultures, someone might be living in America, but he calls somebody else in Bangladesh or Pakistan or somewhere, and he charges you a fee that you will Western Union to your cousin to give to that man, and he will make istikharah on your behalf. Right? The guy, he doesn't even know you, never seen you, doesn't know your situation. And these fall into the aspects of shirk and bid'ah. Because no one is supposed to pray Salatul Istikhaarah for you. This is your life, your decision. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the help. Someone else can't do this for you. Like imagine, this is called Salatul Istikhaarah. So all the prerequisites, it should strike you, it should click, salah. So everything to do with salah still applies to Salatul Istikhaarah. So let's say it was Isha time. Are you going to go pay somebody else to pray Salatul Isha on your behalf? No. You know, this is madness. Someone will think you're crazy if you said something like that. So same thing. Just like you're not going to pay someone else to pray Salatul Fajr or Dhuhr or any other waqt of salah on your behalf, you're not supposed to go pay someone to pray Salatul Istikhaarah on your behalf either. It's the same concept. So this now brings us to the conditions or the prerequisites that Salatul Istikhaarah. So for everything, just like any other salah, the same prerequisites apply. You have to have a perfect wudu according to the sunnah. You have to have the proper intention, right? Which is intention is in the heart, not you don't verbalize your intention before a salah. You face the qibla. You cover yourself properly before you stand for salah. So all the conditions of salah have to be met properly, just like any other salah. And then, of course, you start your salah. And the procedure is the same as any other salah. And as we shall see in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that it is rak'atayn, 2 units of prayer that you pray. Now when it comes to the procedure, this is a completely separate salah. It doesn't mean that you prayed Salatul Isha right now, and after you finish Salatul Isha, you make the dua of Istikhaarah. No. Or within the salah in your sujood, you're making that dua. No. This is a completely separate salah for a specific purpose. Just like, let's say, there's another hadith in Bukhari. The Prophet ﷺ said that if one of you fall into sin, of course you make istighfar. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. However, if Allah forbid you fell into one of the kaba'ir, from the major sins, then the proper way to repent, you make the most perfect wudu that you can make. And then you pray 2 units, rak'atayn. And in that salah, in those 2 units, you ask Allah sincerely, make tawbah to Him sincerely for the major sin that you have done. Alright, cry to Allah in your sujood, in that specific 2 units prayer, making tawbah from that specific major sin that you may have done. And then the third final step is, don't repeat that major sin. So that salah has a purpose, that this is a rak'atayn that you're praying specifically for the purpose of making tawbah to Allah for a major sin that you may have fallen into. And major sin meaning any sin which has a punishment attached to it in terms of the dunya, a capital punishment, or in the barzakh, or on Yawm al-Qiyamah, or all 3. Like for example, if someone, Allah forbid, fell into zina, the Muslim government is supposed to, if it gets proven, the person himself or herself, exposes him or herself, the Muslim government is supposed to lash this person, if it's a single person. If it's a married person, then of course that's execution. Then there's the hadith that in the barzakh, in the life in the grave, the people who used to commit zina, they will be burning in a tanur, in an oven, in the barzakh life. This is the life in your grave until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Then of course, also Allah has mentioned those people who used to commit zina, they will be thrown into the fire. So every stage of life, it has a specific punishment attached to it. That's a major sin, right? So major sin, so many. Not cleaning yourself, especially for our young brothers and sisters. You have to be very careful that when you are going to school, your colleges or public places, whatever it is, make sure you clean yourself properly from urine after using the bathroom, because it's a major sin. You get punished in the grave if you're not clean properly after answering the call of nature. So likewise many other examples of major sins. So it has a purpose. You're praying those 2 units for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the purpose is that you want to make tawbah for the sin that you have committed. So it's a separate salah. Just like that, Salatul Istikhaarah has a purpose behind it. You are about to make a life-changing decision, or whatever may be the case, that's something that will impact your life in some way, whether big or small, doesn't matter. You're supposed to make istikharah. This is the sunnah that many people have forgotten, right? They might think, oh, it's just a college application. I don't need to make istikharah. It's not marriage, right? No. College applications are a life-changing decision. It will impact you throughout your life, right? So what school you're going to go to, what college you're going to apply to, or even if you got acceptance letters from 2 or 3 different colleges, which one should you go to? You should seek Allah's counsel before making the decision or before going for it. So Salatul Istikhaarah is a separate salah of 2 units that you pray for that specific guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now when it comes to the prayer itself, again there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of bid'ah that people may do. There's absolutely no hadith which states what surah specifically you should recite. So you recite whatever you know as much as you know. After the Fatiha, I mean. Okay? So you will find sometimes people will say, oh, recite Surah Fatiha when you pray Salatul Istikhaarah, and then you have to recite Surah Ikhlas 10 times. I've heard actually 100 times. Right? This is all bid'ah. There's absolutely no hadith saying this. So you recite Surah Al-Fatiha, then any other surah or any other ayat from the Quran as much as you want, no problem, for both rak'ah. So there's no specific surah that you're supposed to recite in that prayer. And then, of course, you do your ruku', your sujood, everything is fine. It's not that you make extra dua in your ruku', which you're not supposed to do anyways. This is a hadith in Sahih Muslim. Dua, if you want to make any dua, extra dua, you make it in the state of sajda, not in ruku', okay? It is actually forbidden to make dua while in ruku'. You only say what you're supposed to say. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, and so on. The other adhkar of ruku' at least 3 times. But you don't specifically make dua, it's forbidden for any salah. The dua you make in sujood. Alright. So, you finish the whole salah, then you make your taslim, then you make the dua of istikharah, as we shall clearly see in a little bit, inshallah, when we go through that hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari and the meaning of the dua. Now, this is the procedure, and I'll repeat it again in a few minutes. Now, after you pray, as I mentioned, after you pray Salatul Istikhaarah, you're not supposed to get some people, subhanAllah, I've even heard, so, brother, let's say after Asr prayer, I prayed this. I prayed the 2 units. Am I supposed to see things in my room? No. You're not supposed to hallucinate when you ask Allah for things, right? So, no type of hallucination is supposed to come to you. You're not supposed to have like a real crystal clear dream where you're seeing exactly what you're doing. All right? Dreams are a separate topic. This is a very interesting topic. Even on Wednesday, a couple of brothers were asking about it. Inshallah, we can talk about it soon. But the point is, it's not necessarily true that you're going to have a dream. There's absolutely no hadith saying that you're going to have a dream after praying Salatul Istikhaarah. But dreams in and of themselves, I'm just briefly mentioning this, and we can discuss this inshallah later. Dreams are either from Allah, or they're from shaitan, or they're nafsi. They're just things you're thinking of, right? Maybe you're thinking of cheesesteaks right before you're going to sleep, and then you dream that you're at Geno's or Pat's in Philadelphia.
Well, I'm thinking that right now.
All right. That doesn't mean anything. You're just thinking about it, and you saw yourself in the dream eating the cheesesteak, right? So that's a nafsi dream, something that you were thinking about before you went to sleep. It has nothing to do with a dream being from Allah or from shaitan. Shaitani dreams are the nightmares, from which if you stir and you wake up, you're supposed to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not tell anyone about it, and then of course flip to the other side, make your adhkar and go back to sleep. Dreams from Allah are dreams that are true. And this is another hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that nubuwah, the prophethood for anyone, any human being, when they were prophets and messengers, it has 46 parts. If someone were to fulfill these 46 conditions, then he's a prophet of Allah. And of course, after Muhammad ﷺ, no one else will fulfill those conditions. All right, so we don't have to try, because he was the final prophet and messenger. One of those 46 parts of being a prophet is having true dreams from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is something, as the Prophet ﷺ made it very clear, Allah gives to many from Bani Adam. Many of us, right? Maybe in your lifetime you saw something in your dream. 2 years down the road or 2 weeks down the road, it's exactly how you saw it. This is from Allah, right? Like deja vu, as they say, right? This is from Allah. But as I said, I don't want to change the topic completely. Dreams are separate, but I just briefly mentioned this. So maybe if after you pray Salatul Istikhaarah, you might have one of those dreams from Allah. It could happen, but there's absolutely no evidence that it will or should happen, right? So keep that in mind, because that's very important. Many people are waiting for the dream. They pray Salatul Istikhaarah, they're praying it 20 times, and they'll be like, Shaykh, I still didn't see any dream. You're not supposed to see any dream, right? If it happens, okay, alhamdulillah, it's from Allah. It may be something unrelated or could be related, you never know. But it is completely separate from Salatul Istikhaarah itself. So this is now the outcome. What would happen after I make this Salatul Istikhaarah? Nothing. If it is good for you, you keep on doing whatever it is. As we shall go through the dua, you're literally asking Allah to bless that decision for you. Or if it is something that is evil and bad, you're asking Allah to keep it away from you, from causing harm to you. That's what it is. Sometimes maybe it can happen. Like maybe you prayed Salatul Istikhaarah, should I go for this job interview for this company on Monday, or should I go for the interview on Wednesday with a different company, which I really like more, but I don't know what's going on. Okay, so you decide you're more inclined to the second job interview. All right. And then you ask some person, whether family or friends, a good Muslim who knows you, who cares about you, who has experience and knowledge about this field, and he gave you his sincere advice. Then you prayed Salatul Istikhaarah. Now you're driving on your way to the interview on Monday. Right? You thought, okay, khalas, I'm more inclined. I would like the interview to work out on Wednesday, but for the sake of it, let me just go and see what happens with the company that I'm being interviewed on Monday. And you're going after praying Salatul Istikhaarah. And then you see there's, hiccups after hiccups on the way. Car accident on the highway, the traffic light's not working, something else is happening, you got an urgent call for which you might have to make a U-turn and go back home or somewhere else. Could this be that this is a dua, the answer of your dua, that this specific job interview probably was bad for you, and Allah is showing you signs to keep you away from it? This is actually from Allah. This job interview would have been bad for you, and He is taking it away from you because it is bad for you. So if it's something like this, you feel you're not feeling comfortable anymore, and then you go with your original decision of going to the interview on Wednesday, no problem.
Or the opposite could happen.
Yeah, or the opposite could happen as well, right? So, or the opposite could happen. But as we shall see, that these could be the fruits of the Salatul Istikhaarah. But you're not supposed to read too much into anything, right? Some people become paranoid, right? Like let's say, especially when it comes to marriage, you prospected, you're looking for marriage, talking to the brothers. You prospected, you sat with a sister and her family. All right, then you make your istikharah. Then somewhere you found out that she has one gray hair, even though she's only 24. Oh my God, this could be a sign from Allah. She's not good for me. No, you're reading too much into it, right? don't become paranoid like that. Right? Who cares if she has one gray hair? There's hundreds that are whatever color her hair is, right? So don't get paranoid and start looking into every, like becoming extreme in how you're critiquing every situation after Salatul Istikhaarah. All right, it's very important that as a Muslim you live a balanced life. Keep a balance in what you're seeing or hearing after you have made Salatul Istikhaarah. All right, now before getting into the dua itself, that we have to understand from this much that you have to be comfortable in your decision. You sought advice. You're comfortable with your decision. You know what you want in your life. You know what you want to do. Then you make this Salatul Istikhaarah. This is extremely, extremely important. Most people, they don't understand this. They just randomly just keep on doing Salatul Istikhaarah after, and nothing comes out of it. Nothing is improving in their life. They're still confused about the decision for the past 2-3 years. This is not the way to do it. So make it easy on yourself. Follow this sunnah method. This is the only way you're supposed to do it. That you decide, you ask for advice from sincere people, then you make that Salatul Istikhaarah. So the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. Now, one other point I would like to emphasize again. Even if you are a sinner, do not think that Allah will not help you. Okay, because that can happen. Someone may think, I'm sinning, I'm lying, I just stole. You have, you need a job or what college to go to, whatever may be the case, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm a sinner, I'm ashamed, I'm not going to ask Allah for guidance and counsel. This is haram. Doesn't matter if you are the worst sinner in life, you have to remember, this is the aqidah. This is the meaning of Tawheed. Doesn't matter how much of a sinful person you are, you have to believe with certainty that it is only Allah who has control of your life. It is only Allah who can give you what is good and remove what is harmful for you. So you have to seek counsel from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, the younger sisters, if inshallah, just keep it down a little bit. All right. So don't let shaitan deceive you that I'm a sinner, I shouldn't ask Allah's guidance, He'll probably punish me and take the good stuff away from me. Do not think like this. This is kufr to think about Allah in this manner. And it's purely a waswas from shaitan. So completely ignore that. Doesn't matter what your situation is, you have to turn to Allah as a Muslim, as a believer. That He is the only one who is al-wakil, the disposer of affairs of the entire creation. Alright, so now we get to the hadith. Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعلمنا الاستخارة في الأمور كان يعلمنا سورة من القرآن. The Messenger of Allah taught us Istikhaarah just like he used to teach us any surah from the Quran. So this is very important. And when I was doing the Salah class, I think a couple of months ago, I had mentioned that the hadith mentions, the Sahaba said that the Prophet ﷺ taught us the tashahhud just like any surah in the Quran. So Istikhaarah was also taught by the Prophet ﷺ to the companions, and as a result to all of us, just like he taught any surah from the Quran. This right there, this one sentence from Jabir radiallahu anhu, immediately should remind us as believers of how important Istikhaarah is. That this is something that the Prophet ﷺ taught everyone just like he used to teach them the Quran. It's very, very important. So, Quran, at least what is mandatory upon every Muslim, you have to know how to read the entire Quran. Alright? And understand it and implement it. This is what is mandatory. Mustahab is that you memorize as much as you can. So, Istikhaarah the same way. If you can memorize it, this is the best thing. But, if you think about it, if you're doing this every now and then over life decisions, eventually after doing this 10, 15, 20 times for different issues, you'll immediately, naturally memorize a dua that you're repeating so many times. It'll come naturally, right? Even if you don't memorize it, you're a new Muslim, or you just became a practicing Muslim, or you never knew about it, right? Whatever may be the case. Hey, the boys, just separate inshallah a little bit. Okay. So, whatever may be the case, no problem. You can read the dua until you memorize it. Not an issue, right? So the Prophet ﷺ used to teach the dua of Istikhaarah just like he used to teach any surah from the Quran. And then he went on to say that the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا هَمَّ أَحَدُكُمْ بِالْأَمْرِ فَلْيَرْكَعْ رَكْعَتَيْنِ مِنْ غَيْرِ الْفَرِيضَةِ ثُمَّ لِيَقُلْ. And then he said the dua. So again, this sentence is very important. The Prophet ﷺ said that إِذَا هَمَّ أَحَدُكُمْ بِالْأَمْرِ, any type of decision that you are thinking of, and it's causing you some type of stress, and you're worried about it, it's important in your life, anything, any one of you, then فَلْيَرْكَعْ رَكْعَتَيْنِ, pray 2 units, 2 rak'ah prayer. مِنْ غَيْرِ الْفَرِيضَةِ, other than the fard salah. So now you have the evidence, as I was mentioning before, that it is a completely separate salah. You don't make istikharah within Isha or Asr or Fajr, whatever may be the case. That is another misconception. Many people I've heard, they think, of course, Salatul Fajr, it's a time of barakah. At the time of Fajr, with Salatul Fajr, they make the istikharah. But this is the hadith from Bukhari. Clearly the Prophet ﷺ is saying, min ghayril farida. It is separate. It's a different salah other than the fard salah. These 2 units of prayer. Okay, because someone might think, okay, Fajr is 2 rak'ah, let me just make istikharah at Fajr time. No, it is completely different. Thumma liyaqul. So you finish your salah completely. You make taslim. And then, thumma meaning afterwards. And then, this is what the word thumma means. So you pray the salah, you make your taslim, and then liyaqul. And then he taught the dua. So you sit there, so you finished your 2 units of prayer, you make taslim, you sit there. If you have memorized the dua, say it. If you have to take out your phone, you know, the dua apps that nowadays exist in your smartphones, no problem. Turn on your phone, read the dua as you're sitting in that position. Right? So after you finished your salah, it's an immediate thing. Don't pray these 2 rak'ah and then 1 hour later make the dua. Right? You're sitting there and you're making the dua. Now we're going to go through the dua. So the Prophet ﷺ taught the dua. The very first sentence, Allahumma inni astakhiruka bi'ilmik. Oh Allah, I am making istikharah, with your knowledge. You are the one who knows everything. You have the knowledge of everything. What I'm thinking about, what I'm worried about, what's going to happen in my future, what's happening now, what has happened. You are the one who has this knowledge. So I'm asking you from your knowledge, give me something. Like your knowledge contains everything. So I am seeking counsel from you for something beneficial. Right? So you start off by humbling yourself. This is the very first sentence, you are humbling yourself to your Lord, emphasizing that you don't know anything. That it is He's the one with the infinite knowledge, and you are asking Him for a share, to bless you, to give you something, to increase you in knowledge, and to give you, to make you clear in your decision. وَأَسْتَقْدِرُكَ بِقُدْرَتِكَ. And I am asking you by your qadr. Now you're emphasizing. You know that you're telling Allah in this conversation that everything happens by His qadr. You have literally no power, no ability over your decision. You have made the decision, right? You know what job to take, you know what college to go to, you know what woman to marry and man to marry, whatever may be the case, right? But still you're asking Allah that I have no ability, I have no power. It is your qadr that will help me. You are the only one who is capable, not me. وَأَسْأَلُكَ مِنْ فَضْلِكَ الْعَظِيمِ. And I am asking you from all the great bounties that you possess. Right? I'm asking you from all the great bounties that you possess, asking you for what? Give me one such bounty. The issue that I'm asking about, inquiring about. Right? Then, فَإِنَّكَ تَقْدِرُ وَلَا أَقْدِرُ. You're emphasizing again that you are the one who makes the qadr. You control, you make the decision. You are the capable one, not me. I have absolutely no control over anything. So you're repeating this to emphasize this concept of, this is an aspect of Taufique, the oneness of Allah, that He has the power and authority over all things, not us. So you repeat this. And then again, وَتَعْلَمُ وَلَا أَعْلَمُ. And you are the one who knows, and I don't know anything. So emphasizing these points of that Allah is the only one with the knowledge, and Allah is the only one who carries out His own qadr. Alright? Allah wrote our qadr, He gives to us from whatever He sees is befitting for us. Right? وَأَنْتَ عَلَّامُ الْغُيُوبِ. And you are the one who knows in detail every single thing about al-ghayb, the unseen. So you are putting trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe you think this person is good for you as your spouse. This job, great salary, this, that, whatever may be the case. But you don't know the future. You don't know the unseen troubles that may come with it. Allah does. So you are emphasizing that point again. You're proclaiming this to Allah, and you are reassuring yourself that Allah is the one, وَأَنْتَ عَلَّامُ الْغُيُوبِ, that you are the one who knows all the details about the unseen. I know nothing. Right? Then comes the actual body of the dua. That Allahumma in kunta ta'lamu anna hadha al-amr. Oh Allah, if you know that this decision, and Allah already knows what you're thinking about. He already knows what you're praying about. Right? So now you're asking Allah that if you know, oh Allah, you know that this issue, this decision, this problem, whatever may be the case that's already in your heart, that you're already thinking of, that you made this istikhaarah with this intention that you want to resolve this problem that you're having. Alright? Khayrun li, if it is good for me, fi dini, in my in terms of my religion. If it is good for me in terms of my religion, wa ma'ashi, and my life. My religion, my life, wa aqibati amri, and the end of my affairs. So three things. If this is good for me in terms of my religion, right? What does it mean? Let's suppose a job is offering you $200,000 a year. Very nice job, but you're going to have to do something haram. This is not good for your deen. This has no khair whatsoever in terms of your deen, right? So you don't want something to fall on your lap that is going to make you lose your religion. That's the first thing you ask for as a Muslim. That this decision, if it is good for me in my religion, that always has to be your number one priority. Anything in life, that I want to marry this woman, is she good for me in terms of my Islam? Will we work together to become better Muslims, or is she going to annoy me so much that I'll lose my religion, right? And vice versa, for if a woman is looking to get married to a specific man, right? So that's the first thing that you as a Muslim have to think about. In any life-changing decision, major decision, will it benefit my religion? Let's say even when you're applying for college, you're going to, you want to be an engineer, or you're going to go to medical school, whatever may be the case. There is still benefit from that, even though it's a secular field. As a Muslim, you should ask Allah's counsel that make this thing something beneficial to me in terms of religion. Maybe you'll open up, or you'll do as a doctor after you become a doctor, inshallah ta'ala, like they have in Cherry Hill and Philadelphia. Free clinics. Some practicing Muslims from those communities, they alternate or on the weekends or some other dates, okay? Muslim doctors who work for free, a group of them got together and they made a free clinic, right? These are things that you want to do, fi sabilillah. This is good for your religion. With the knowledge of the dunya that Allah gave, you still find a way to do religious things. Or, mashallah, tabarakallah, with these good halal jobs, you make a lot of money, you're a successful businessman, successful doctor, engineer, whatever may be the case. You're asking Allah, before having taken that decision that make this good for my religion, you will see that once you start earning money, you will be inclined to use that money for the masjid, for the school, for these type of things, because it's good for your religion. All right? Don't think that only you have to go become a sheikh or a hafid of Quran or this or that to give input. Of course, they have the highest rewards if they are sincere, and this is between them and Allah. Right? This is what it is. But however, if you're something else, you support the institutes, you support the masajid, you support the schools, you help build, you help support the education, Islamic education spread, and so on and so forth, right? So anyways, khayrun li fi dini wa ma'ashi, and my life, this life that I'm living in this dunya, if it's good for me. And then, wa aqibati amri, and if it is good for my last affairs. Last affairs meaning your akhirah. And as a Muslim, these are the only three things that should matter in your life. Number one, your religion. And then, you want to live a nice, decent, comfortable life, halal life. And definitely an easy life in the hereafter. So look at this beautiful dua that you're making. You're asking Allah for this guidance. If it's good for my religion, my life, and my akhirah. In another narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, Ajili amri wa ajilihi. In my short term and my long term. I mean, beautiful. Because sometimes we like quick decisions, right? We want something quick. And especially this generation of Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, right? Everything has to be instantaneous. Otherwise, we don't like it. But you're asking Allah that this thing be good for me in short term and long term. May I be patient enough to wait for it, reap the benefit from the fruits of this decision in the long term, for a long, long time. Right? A lot of people, they don't think. You can get a job today, make $1,000 next week, or you can wait a month and make $1,000 for the next 10 months. A smart person would just be patient for one more month and wait for that. But the one who is short-sighted, and a Muslim should not be short-sighted, he'll say, oh man, a quick 1,000, give it to me. But what are you going to do for the rest of the remaining 10 months? Right? So this is what you're asking Allah for, this guidance, for this wisdom. Right? That may it be something good in my short term as well as my long term. Then, فَقْدُرْهُ لِي وَيَسِّرْهُ لِي. Then decree it for me and make it easy for me. If it's good for my religion, good for my life, if it's good for my akhirah, if it's good in terms of short term and long term, then decree this decision for me and make it easy for me. Facilitate the way for me to obtain this. Make it easy. Right? ثُمَّ بَارِكْ لِي فِيهِ. And then, once I attain this, bless it for me. So you're not just stopping, oh Allah, make the decision easy for me. No. If once it becomes easy, you acquire it, it's in your possession. But then what? You still need the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the rest of your life while you have that thing, right? So you want the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for as long as you have it. So this is the beautiful part, and this is the dua that you see. Now you understand next time, because a lot of times, most of the people don't understand Arabic and they don't think. They're just making these du'as like parrots that they memorized. It doesn't, your heart has to be in any du'a that you make. You need to know what you're saying. You need to know it. Then you'll have more khushu', more concentration. And then you'll have more conviction as well, more belief in it. Right? You're saying something that you fully understand. And then the next part, that Allahumma in kunta ta'lamu anna hadha al-amr شَرٌ لِي فِي دِينِي وَمَعَاشِي وَعَاقِبَةِ الْأَمْرِ. Oh Allah, and if you know that this is going to be bad for me in my religion, in my life, and in the hereafter, it's the opposite now. Okay, because we don't know this. Only Allah knows the ghaib. So if this issue, first you ask for the good. You start with the good, right? It's not like when I have two kinds of news, good news, bad. All right, give me the bad news first. No, start with the good, right? So you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first for the khair. Now you're asking Allah that if it is shar, if it is evil for me, for my religion, for my life, for my hereafter, and in the other narration, ajili amri wa ajilihi, in the short term or in the long term. It's going to be evil whether in a short term or long term. Then, فَاصْرِفْهُ عَنِّي وَاصْرِفْنِي عَنْهُ. Then remove it from me and remove me from it. Take it away. So you're putting your full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is, tawakkul was the subject of our khutbah yesterday. That this is what it means. You fully trust Allah, leave it to Him. If you're confused, you're afraid, whatever may be the case, put your full trust in Allah. If it's good, give it, make it easy, bless it. If it's bad, remove it away from me and remove me from it. This sentence is very important. Sometimes something may be removed from you, but you are not removed from that thing. It's still in your heart. So something that is bad for you, even though it has been removed, but it is still in your heart, tomorrow or next week or next month, you are going to run after it again. So this is why you're asking Allah, not just remove that from me, but also remove me from that. Completely get it out of my heart. May it not bother me whatsoever. Right? So you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because otherwise you're not going to be content. You'll be always worried. What if? It didn't work out yesterday. Let me try again today. No, it's just not meant to be. Say Alhamdulillah. Right? And this is what happens. And I'm speaking to the young people about this. They wait for years to marry one specific person. That is not from Islam. You have to understand this, right? They'll say, I'm in love with her, or I'm in love with him. And they're waiting for each other, fighting for 5, 6, 7 years. This is not from Islam. If it was meant to be, you made some attempts, fine. You want to knock on the family's door 3 times? Just like the Prophet ﷺ said, when you go to someone's house, you knock 3 times. If there's no answer, go back home. So nice were the days when I used to do this too. Go to my friend's house, knock on his door. Oh, he's not. Okay, all right. Now you have to make an appointment. Hey, can I come and hang out with you next week? Right? This is what has caused relationships to be distant from each other. We were very close. People, when we didn't have cell phones and internet, human beings had a much more close bond because you actually had to go physically talk to the person every time you wanted to see him. Right? So there's a connection every time. Right? So this is why it's very important. Muslims who work together, don't just rely on phones or emails. See each other. Because this is the way Allah made Bani Adam. When you see, when you eat, when you hang out with each other, it's from Allah. You will develop a better bond with each other. All right? But anyways, so what I was saying, the example that I gave. As a young person, maybe you're 20, 24, whatever may be the case. You heard about a nice sister in the community. You approach the family. This is your right, and this is something Islamic to do. You approach the family. And usually certain cultures, it's not from Islam. Certain cultures, they have an attitude problem. They want you to beg for their daughter. It's just an attitude situation, right? They'll think that if I say yes to you the very first time you knock on my door for my daughter's hand, it means I'm a cheap man. No, I can't be the talk of the town. Come beg me 10 times, then I'll let you in my house. This goes against Islam. Right? How do we know this? When Umar radiallahu anhu was looking for a husband for his daughter Hafsa radiallahu anha, he went out and asked Abu Bakr, are you interested? He went out when Abu Bakr said no. He went to Uthman, are you interested? No. He asked everybody. And then of course the Prophet ﷺ is the one who married Hafsa, and she became our mother. So this is from the Sunnah, that as a father, you're concerned about your daughter. You should be the one looking for the best husband available for your daughter. You have to do this. It's not the other way around, right? Because you are handing over your daughter to someone else's house. So this worry is on you more than someone else who's coming to take. You're the one giving. So you have to be very, very careful who you give your daughter to, right? But anyways, so let's suppose you're knocking on their door once, twice, 3 times. If there's misunderstandings, whatever may be the case, you take some respected people from the community to talk with the families, this, that. You tried everything. Move on. Make istikhaarah and move on. This is not for you. You don't keep waiting for years and years. This is from the kuffar culture. This doesn't exist in Islam, right? That you're waiting to marry that person is just from the Indian Bollywood and Hollywood movies that people fall into that trap. And eventually what happens, shaitan can easily cause these people who are waiting in secret for one another to fall into haram. Easily. So keep that door closed, make your istikhaarah. Either you make attempts, if you've been waiting around for 6-7 months, be a man and make an attempt. Don't wait. Right? That I'm thinking, and the message has already reached the girl, that Fulan is interested in you, but he's waiting. Alright? No, don't do this. Be a man and approach the family. Get it over with. Alright? Take all the means, necessary means, and get the process moving. So anyways, and then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَأَقْدِرْ لِي, so write it for me, and make it easy for me to abstain from it or easily take it away from me, and so on and so forth. And then you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَقْدُرْ لِي الْخَيْرَ, that make the khair easy for me, حَيْثُ كَانَ. If this is bad, you're moving the bad thing away. As a replacement, write good for me from wherever you have decreed. So this bad thing that you're asking Allah to remove it, He knows best. Remove me from it, remove it from me, and write for me, meaning replace this with something that is khair from wherever you see fit, from wherever you decide. And then ثُمَّ أَرْضِينِي بِهِ, and make me happy, pleased with that decision of yours. Right? It's bad, you don't understand it, Allah has removed it. Just make me content. Make me at peace, so I don't constantly think about this thing that has left my hands. Right? And this is the end of the dua. So look at this, that you're saying this dua, beautiful meaning, and it is, this entire dua emphasizes and reestablishes your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single sentence is a proclamation of Taufique. It's reestablishing La ilaha illallah. That you know that Allah is the source of knowledge. You know that Allah alone takes care of affairs, controls affairs. Allah alone can give or take. Allah alone can either make you content or unhappy. So all of these are aspects of Tawheed, and you're just re-establishing that belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you're making this dua. So with that, inshallah, if there's questions, go ahead. I see some. And sisters, of course, write it down and send it. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.
Is there a preferred time or a forbidden time for this?
A good question. So as I mentioned, this is Salatul Istikhaarah. So the rules and regulations of every salah applies to this. There are, let's see, the kids who are busy talking. How many times in a day is it forbidden to pray? Any prayer. Okay, first let's ask. Are there any forbidden times of salah? Yes, okay. So how many? Yes, Talha? Any more guesses from the youth? Yeah. Not 5, no. You pray 5 times a day now. He's like, let me just throw in. 3, good, Adnan. All right, now the big question. What are those 3 times? Adnan. The young sisters in the back, just keep it down, inshallah. Huh? Okay. You have the right thinking, but I'll fix it for you. And what else? What's the third one? Okay, so again, you have the right thinking. All right. So the 3 times of the day when it's haram to pray, the exact moment of sunrise, which is after Fajr, the exact moment of sunrise. Then midday when the sun is exactly at its height, there is no shadow at that time, right? Absolutely no shadow. And the third is the exact moment of sunset. That's why Maghrib is after the disk of the sun has disappeared, not during the sunset, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said that the sun rises and sets between the 2 horns of shaitan, right? So this is the reason. And then of course you have the midday when there is absolutely no. So these are the 3 times you're not supposed to pray, all right? So you don't pray Salatul Istikhaarah during those 3 times. Besides that, go pray anytime you want, no problem, right? And on this note, if someone was to think, let me pray Salatul Istikhaarah during Tahajjud time, then maybe there will be special barakah. There's no hadith saying that. When you pray your Tahajjud, that last third of the night is for Tahajjud, for Qiyamul Layl, right? For Qiyamul Layl. That's you're praying your night prayers. It's a blessed time. This is the best time to pray it. There is no evidence saying that if you pray Salatul Istikhaarah during that time, you'll have extra blessing because that's the best time to pray a prayer besides the fard prayers. Okay, so we don't have evidence for that.
Chef, can you explain us to what time of Maghrib start? Because they say when the sun start getting into the horizon, that the Maghrib.
Yeah, that's when it starts until the disk completely disappears.
Yeah,
Now,
not the when the fully sun is already going to the horizon, right?
No. Yeah, when you can see it. Now, the thing is, if you're in the valley, it's different from when you're at the bottom. And this is the hadith in Bukhari. All right? So depending on where you see, you go by your eyes. You see clearly that it is in the process, it's in the process of going down. Let the sun go down completely. You don't pray at that time, all right? We got a lot of questions on Facebook. 1 second. Okay. I'll get to that question. It's unrelated. All right. Okay, so the question on Facebook is unrelated, so let me answer that a little later. I can read where are dreams from, but in between I don't know what the word is. Where are blank dreams from? What, I can't understand. Oh, okay, I can read it now. Let's ask this question, inshallah, when there's no little kids. It's a specific type of dream. Inshallah, if sisters, you can ask my wife this question, no problem, because I don't want to. I mean, there's 5-year-olds who won't understand a thing. But the answer, just briefly, it's not from shaitan. Sometimes it can be a nafsi dream, sometimes it can be from shaitan. Should I recite Surah Ikhlas 3 times in 1 rak'ah or only 1 time any surah? There's nothing saying that you have to recite Surah Ikhlas 3 times in 1 rak'ah anywhere. You can, if you want, you can. I mean, there's nothing saying you should recite any surah 3 times in 1 rak'ah or saying you can't recite any surah certain number of times. But the problem is, it goes on back to your intention. Are you thinking that I have to do this? Then it becomes a bid'ah. Okay, so it's you have to be careful. This is your niyyah, your intention. It's known to Allah only. So don't intend to think that I have to do this, or if I recite it 3 times, it will be more acceptable or more blessed, then it falls under the category of bid'ah. All right? So that, because that's strictly mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ. So if you're just doing it for the sake of doing it for whatever reason, there's nothing saying that it's wrong. Is it haram to wear a wig instead of a hijab? Just curious. Yes. You cannot wear fake hair. So I hope the sisters know this. A lot of times, maybe a person comes to her for the purpose of marriage. They'll put fake hair on her to make it longer and this and that. That's deception. That's actually haram to do. Right? You're actually cheating the person who's trying to come and marry you, thinking of something that you're not. Right? So don't wear false hair. And hijab is hijab. Hijab cannot be replaced with something that looks like hair. Hijab has to be the proper hijab. Okay. Now, in case Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah and others from our generation have mentioned, if a woman who is a cancer patient, maybe she lost her hair, or anyone else, they lost, a man, woman, especially a woman, maybe through the chemotherapy, this, that, she lost her hair. As it is, she's a very sick person, struggling physically, and now she sees herself, she's bald, this, that, she starts thinking she's ugly, it even kills her more emotionally. In those type of situations, as Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen said, if she wants to wear a wig inside the house to still look presentable to herself and to her husband and family, this is fine, no problem. This is inside the house, okay? Yeah. But she would still have to wear the hijab when she goes out. But this is just the only exception, that it's that type of extreme sickness, which really is unbearable, hard on a woman as it is. No need to cause her more emotional distress if that specific type of person wants to wear a wig inside the house, no problem. Somebody had a question here? No? Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So you said that the prayer isn't, like, how do you call it? It isn't related to any of the 5 daily prayers.
No, it's a separate prayer, yeah.
So can they pray it during, like, Asr to Maghrib, like the times where prayer isn't allowed?
No. The only time prayer is not allowed is only those 3 times.
So we can't pray.
Between Asr and Maghrib is like 2-3 hours. Of course you can pray. All right, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can pray between Asr and Maghrib, no problem. Just the moment of sunrise, the moment of sunset, and exact midday when you will see that there's no shadow. Right?
I think you're referring to when you do the fard of Fajr and the fard of Asr.
Yeah.
Then you may not do any optional salah after that.
Oh, okay, maybe that's no, you can still do it, no problem. Because let's suppose you came to the masjid between Asr and Maghrib, you pray Tahiyatul Masjid, and there's clear hadith for that, right? So there's no problem in doing so, inshallah. Is reincarnation a real thing? When you die and become alive with the same face another time, different. No, this is the belief of the Hindus and Buddhists. Of course, if anyone believes in reincarnation, the person is not a Muslim. So you have to know what it is. Once you die, you don't come back to life. All right, hey kids, just keep it down because this is a very important question. If you believe in reincarnation, you will not be a Muslim, even if you pray 5 times a day, fast in Ramadan, whatever may be the case, because this is the pillar of Iman, that we believe in life after death, meaning in the barzakh, in the grave, and on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Once you die, you end up in the grave, you're not going to come back in any way, shape, or form. Right? So this is the Hindu belief, that depending on what you did or not do, if you were a bad person in this life, you might come back as a dog. But if you were good, you might come back reborn in a rich family. Right? That's what they believe. Because they don't believe in Jannah and Jahannam. They don't believe in Allah alone. So these are all made up ideas that Shaitan poisoned some people to think. Is it permissible to complete reading the Quran as a group, meaning each person reads one chapter and 30 people in total read a chapter for our Quran khatam? No, this is a bid'ah. This was never done by the Prophet ﷺ or the Sahaba or even the first 300-400 years of Islam, Muslims. So Quran, the reward of the Quran is for the person who reads it. So if you read one juz, in Arabic it's juz, in Urdu and Bengali it's para, okay? So if you read one section, you will get the reward of reading that one section. The other person will get the reward for reading a section and a section. So, but this concept that 30 people read the 30 ajza and we have completed the Quran as a whole, no, you only read one section. That's one. And two, this concept is a bid'ah, so you'll actually earn a sin for doing this. So read the entire Quran as, with the time. You don't have to rush through it. If it takes you 2 months to finish, no problem, finish and then restart and then finish and restart. This is what you're supposed to do, whatever is, as much as is easy for you.
Follow?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you hear the Imam reciting or some kind of recording with the recitation, is that the same as reading it?
No. You will, when you listen to the Quran, you do have some type of reward. That you give the Quran its respect and you're listening. You're listening and pondering over the verses. That's the point of listening. If you're doing that, no problem. If you're listening to review your own hifz, you're reviewing your own, how much you have memorized, great. You'll get the reward for that specific intention, right? But listening to the Quran will not replace reading. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu and these Sahaba had the entire Quran memorized. And if you look at any of the scholars, no doubt they have the Quran memorized. Let's say Sheikh Suraim, Sheikh Sudais, we all know who they are. You will still see them opening the Mus'haf and reading. Right? Because that is where the barakah and the special reward is. And this is from the statement of Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, that we have it memorized. But still we like to look at the Mus'haf and read, because that is what the reward is. That for reading every letter you get 10 hasanat, inshallah. Every harf is 10 hasanat, as is mentioned in the hadith in Bukhari. So even if you have memorized, you're an expert in your hifz, mashallah, still it doesn't matter. You review or you read by looking at the book, looking at the Mus'haf, okay? When can a woman stop wearing hijab? She does not stop wearing hijab. She starts wearing hijab when she reaches puberty, right? Now she gives the example like an elderly woman. Yes, that is the ayah, but it doesn't mean, like let's suppose, someone, a young woman who reaches puberty, and then up to the age of, I don't know, she becomes really wrinkly. No one would look at her twice.
42?
Not 42, no. All right? If a woman, you called her wrinkly at 42, she'll probably beat you up. Right? So, like, she became very wrinkly. So, I don't know, 70, 80 years old. Allah has given a concession for that type of person, because you're wrinkly, you're old, no one will look at you a second time. And this is the reality of life. As we grow old, we lose our handsomeness and beauty, right? So for that person, it's a little bit relaxed, but it still doesn't mean, the ayah is not saying that you can just go out without your head covered and so on and so forth. No. It just means you can be a little bit more relaxed in the point that it's hard to describe. Like, let's say if even a couple of strands of hair is sticking out, it's okay. It's an elderly woman. Everybody gives her that respect of the grandmother. That's when it is. But it doesn't mean, the ayah doesn't say you stop wearing it. Okay, so that's the wrong understanding. All right, now let me answer this question. 1 second. Can Istikhaarah answer take years to happen? This is again, we don't have any evidence for this, but in generally speaking, when you make dua, there's three outcomes. This is from another hadith in At-Tirmidhi. Anytime you make dua to Allah, three things, either of three things will happen. Number one, Allah will instantly or very quickly reply to your dua. Number two, because of that dua that you made, Allah may remove a separate harm from you. That's the second. So let's give example. Oh Allah, you're trying every single day, trying to find a decent job with a better pay. It's just not working out. So maybe you made dua tonight in Qiyamul Layl, you're crying to Allah, asking for a better job, and subhanallah, tomorrow or 2 days later you get a phone call from a place you applied to like 6 months ago. That's an instant reply to your dua. That can happen. Or because of this dua that you made, and it's a good dua to Allah, because of this dua, Allah will remove a harm from you. Something else. Meaning He still gives you a reward. Not the specific that He doesn't give you a job next day, but He removed an evil or a harm that was bothering you or something else in your life. And the third that can happen, if none of these two happen, Allah will give you the reward on Yawmul Qiyamah, and you will see it, as the Prophet ﷺ said, meaning, let's say, on January 24th, 2019, you made this dua, it wasn't answered, but now you're seeing the reward on a day that matters the most. So either way, when you make dua to Allah, you are not a loser. So have sabr and have yaqeen that Allah has accepted your dua. As I said, many times people are short-sighted. I made a dua to Allah, I need a wife, and I've been trying to get married for the past 4 or 5 years. Allah didn't accept the dua. No, you don't know. Maybe none of the women would be good for you. That's why Allah has kept the harm away from you. Right? You have to understand that your dua got accepted for sure. So either Allah will immediately reply to you very quickly, or you will see it a little bit later, or because of it, meaning you'll get the reply in this dunya, whether it be in a month or 5 months or a year, 10 years, doesn't matter. Okay, but you'll see it in the dunya, or because of it Allah has removed some harm, or because of it Allah will give you the reward on the day of judgment. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the prayer you guys before. If you're about to miss Asr and you have like 5 minutes to pray Asr until Maghrib, can you pray the Asr at this time or wait to pray both together?
No, he's asking about if you missed Asr. See, there's the long hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari which mentions the times of Salah. The moment the sky turns red, meaning the sun is being prepared to set, Asr time is over. Asr time starts, since the question is specifically about Asr, Asr time starts the moment the shadow of an object becomes the same size as the object itself. Alright? The shadow and the object is the same length. Immediately the time of Asr has started. From that moment until the sky has turned red, it's you know the sun's about to set in the next few minutes, 15, 20 minutes, whatever may be the case. The redness in the sky is showing up, the time of Asr has ended. Right? So you would have to make tawbah for that. Right? But you have a couple of hours. The whole point is you have a couple of hours to pray Asr, so do your best to fit in. You have to. You have no choice. You have to fit the salah in that schedule. Yes, brother.
Earlier you mentioned as an example that make Istikhaarah and become a doctor or an engineer and inshallah successful one, and then your heart will bring you to donate to the masjid, to the school and so forth. Is the obligation over once you donate the money, or do you have a greater obligation than that?
Repeat it, because another question came. Yeah.
You mentioned that make Istikhaarah, inshallah, become a successful doctor, engineer,
Yeah.
what have you. and you make good money, and then it will come in your heart to donate it to the masjid, to the school, and so forth.
Yeah.
Is your obligation over once you donate the money, or do you have further obligation to see how the money is used?
Okay, so this is a good question. Let's say, you're asking Allah to guide you into doing more religious things, even if it's a job, whatever you have acquired as a profession. May it be something that's good for your deen, so it influences you to do things for the deen, like donating, giving money for the masjid, for the school, and so on and so forth. Now, does it mean that once I don't give sadaqah and my job is done, or is it also, do I have the right to check if my money is being utilized properly? This is absolutely your right. Rather, Allah tells you that if you see the sisters, the young sisters, just keep it down for a few more minutes, inshallah. If you see, let's suppose, I don't know, there's a masjid somewhere, or there's a building somewhere, and they're asking for donations. And I give the money, and they're saying that we're going to fix the lighting. And I see that 6 months have passed, thousands of dollars were raised, but no lighting changed. Right? You are supposed to stop giving that specific place money. Because this is clear. Allah is showing you that they're not being honest with what you're doing. Right? So this is your right. Because a lot of people, they think, no, it's a masjid, I did Allah. No. I mean, Allah is giving you rizq. You're working hard to earn this money. Utilize it in the most beneficial way. Right? Now, if you didn't know, once you find out, that should be a lesson. Right? Because this happens. Someone asks you for donation, you find out he was a cheat. Okay, khalas, but that next time he comes, I'm not going to give it to him. As a mu'min, you're supposed to be wise. Right? You have to think of these things, and this is an obligation. That it's okay, no, it doesn't matter. It's a school, it's a masjid, it's a person, he's fundraising, whatever may be the case. No, it's your obligation. That if you see that your money is not well spent, there has to be changes. This is an obligation upon the Muslim. Otherwise, you're wasting your money knowingly. Knowingly, you are wasting your money, and you think Allah is rewarding you. No, you're wasting the money, right? Is everything predestined? Is our dua already written too? As I have mentioned a couple of times, maybe inshallah we can review this again, the topic of qadr. Everything is of course predetermined. It's written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is al-alim, the all-knowing. Everything that Allah has decreed is in al-lawh al-mahfuz, which is the prescribed tablet. It's the book in which Allah wrote everything. Or rather, let's just briefly mention. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the first thing that Allah created was the qalam, the pen. And this was created 50,000 years before anything else, the heavens and the earth and the rest of creation, right? So 50,000 years before Allah created the creation, He created the pen. And He told the pen, write. And the pen asked Allah, what should I write? And Allah said, write everything that's going to happen from this moment until the day of judgment. And the pen wrote every single thing. And that is the book that is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala above His arsh. It's in His hands, as the hadith in Sahih Muslim mentions. So that is al-lawh al-mahfuz, the prescribed tablet. That is the decree of every single thing from His creation. And He is al-alim, He knows it. Now when it comes to the angels, when it comes to us, we don't know what's in that book, right? Allah wrote long ago, at that time, you're going to have this many children, you're going to marry that woman, you're going to marry that man, whatever may be the case. Everything was written. But we find these things out as life progresses, right? That's for us humans, right? Same with the angels. Angels are in charge of carrying out decrees of Allah. And there is the yearly decree, which is Laylatul Qadr. There's the monthly decree. There's the daily decree, so on and so forth. The angels are receiving that news. Those who are in charge of the daily decree, they hear something from that book every day. This is first-time information for them. The angels are responsible for the yearly decree. They hear that decree once a year. First-time information for them. But nothing is first-time information for Allah. He already knows everything, right? Now the hadith in Sahih Muslim that mentions that if anything were to change the qadr of Allah, it would be a sincere dua. This is the hadith, okay? What does this mean? It doesn't mean Allah is going to erase what was already written and wipe it out in the book. No. Perhaps, let's say at the night of Laylatul Qadr, Allah told that group of angels, in this following year, this is what's going to happen. This is what's been mentioned. Muhammad will, suffer a heart attack. And that Muhammad was making dua, because of which Allah tells the angels that the command that you had before, no, there is no heart attack, there is no musibah, whatever the case. However, that is also mentioned in that book, that the decree of a musibah will be given to the angels. But then Muhammad will be making a lot of dua. And then a second decree will be given to the angels, so they relearn, or they learn something that was about to happen, but they replace it, okay? But the point is here, sister and brothers, when it comes to Allah, the information is already known. But when it comes to Bani Adam and the angels, then it changes, depending on what we are asking Allah or not. But it's already known to Him in Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. This is something that is, I know, difficult to understand, but it is an aspect of Iman. And Ali radiallahu anhu, he mentioned that this is not something that we go way too deep into, because we will not understand. Allah has given us a free will, freedom of choice, but at the same time He knows what decision we will be making, because He is Allah. There is a difference between Al-Alim and Abdul Alim, the slave of all-knowing. You won't be able to surprise Allah with something, right? That He would cease to be Allah. He would cease to be God. It's just like, let's say if someone was to stand here, if we, one of these kids who like moving around talking, if I was to say, stand here, raise your right leg, he can do it. This is freedom of choice. Allah gave us this ability. Raise the right leg or the left leg, he can do it. Sisters, also keep it down, please. But if I told him, raise both legs and stay upright, he won't be able to. That's the qadr of Allah. There is a freedom of choice, but at the same time we have limits. We're humans, we have limits, all right? So hopefully this is clear. Now the last question. Oh, Brother Shakir, go ahead.
I have two questions. Actually.
Okay, yeah. Just keep it down. A few more minutes, inshallah.
The first one is I want to know why our meeting, general body meeting, was cancelled last week on Tuesday. And the second one is regarding the bylaws. Our Shura committee is not that competent to make the bylaws, or we have to go back to those same people to make the bylaws? Because I did some research from my side, and most of the religious organization has the almost same bylaws. Its few clauses are different.
Yeah.
So our Shura committee is not that competent to make the bylaws.
This is a...
It's not a statement, it's a question.
Yeah, I understand. So he's asking a question. So inshallah ta'ala, this is of course, let the management know. And I know even I've been getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of messages that you guys are asking for a community meeting. So ask the management, and then of course the management have to entertain your demand, right? So inshallah ta'ala, I'm sure soon they'll come to a decision, and then we can hear from everybody in a nice, peaceful manner, inshallah, so this issue can be resolved properly. Okay? Yes?
Just a general question.
Yeah.
As we know that we're here, like people, like old people, and young people, we are different generations. Our understanding is different than their understanding.
Yeah.
So let's say an issue rise, I would say, hey, you young people, you don't have to interfere or to give us your opinion. Just sit back and let the old people decide for you.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Or
No, everyone
listen to them?
Everyone in the community has a voice. This is the whole point of a Muslim community, and this is from Islam, right? Now, if you're asking for something un-Islamic, I'm giving an example. Even if it be 500 people asking for something that is clearly un-Islamic, that cannot be listened to. But if you're asking for something Islamic, even if it's one person, we have to honor that. And if it has nothing to do with the religion, right? If it is a separate issue, the Sharia doesn't say anything this way or that way. It is completely a community affair. This is your right. Then the Sharia said, yes, there are people. If enough people need something, you have to answer their call. See what they want. This is the point. This is what anything, a nation, a community, a family, right? Even as a father, your wife and children might be demanding things that has nothing. Islam is silent about. No problem. But as a good leader, you have to listen to your wife and children when they're demanding something. It's not halal, it's not haram, but it's something to do with their own living circumstances. Same thing in a community, same thing in a nation. So this is something that, as I said, inshallah, just let the management know. Then it becomes their Islamic duty that you are demanding something. Then it is an Islamic duty that they have to at least listen to you and come to a solution before things get out of hand. We don't want things to get out of hand, inshallah. Right? The last question from... Yeah, okay.
We know the Shura committee is the 8 people.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly the people, name or phone number or designation, anything like that. So we like to request the management who in the notebook his name and position and phone number.
Okay, inshallah.
Today asking somebody else, I don't know who is the president or secretary, the treasurer, something like that. So we need to a name and phone number and the
Okay, inshallah. I mean, the three of them are here tonight. Put up a paper tonight here and also in the masjid when you guys go tomorrow. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so last question here. It is unfortunate. This is a question. I mean, this is fine because unfortunately, a lot of these type of things happen to children. Unfortunately, so the sister is asking about victims of molestation, and we know that a lot of these type things take place within family. And what is the victim supposed to do when family does not take action against the perpetrator? This is something, brothers and sisters. Even if your child is 3 years old, living in this time, and hopefully the mothers are listening, this is extremely, extremely important. You have to educate your sons and daughters, even if they're 3 or 4, what is inappropriate touching. This is very common. Unfortunately, all over the world, it's a disease in many people because there is so much evil. So as fathers and mothers, please, please educate your children. And educate them how to stay safe, and educate them how to react and not to hide if Allah forbid anything bad happens. They have to know, right? There's a difference between parents and even uncles and aunts and cousins and whoever may be the case, right? So that's one point. The second, Allah forbid, if someone has been tested and got molested by somebody, and it's usually always all over the world, whether it be in non-Muslim families or non-Muslim victims or Muslim victims, it's always in the hands of people that have very close access to the children. Many times you don't think about it, right? You don't think about it, but there's reasons why Allah put rules between males and females. Even when it comes to brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ said, once they become 7-10 years old, 7, all right? They cannot, even if it's 2 brothers. Many people don't know this. It is haram for even 2 brothers to sleep under the same blanket. It doesn't mean that anything is going to happen. No. There's rules and regulations. Once they reach a certain age, 7-8 years old, give them 2 separate blankets. They have 2 separate beds. These are from the rules of Islam. Allah is not saying, oh, everybody is twisted in their brain. No. He is giving you rules and regulations to prevent any type of devil from ever causing harm, right? Or cousins, of course, they're not mahrams of one another when they grow up. And things like that. And especially when it comes to anybody, it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. Both are supposed to be protected in the same way. So follow those rules and regulations. It doesn't mean that we are accusing somebody of being a crazy person, evil, filthy person. No. Allah gave us rules, we're just following them. That's it. Everyone who is a decent human should respect the rules of Allah. Simple as that. Now third, if in case Allah forbid somebody got molested, the perpetrator is supposed to be punished. This is a severe crime. severe crime in Islam. And this is the ayah from Surah Ma'idah, that when someone spreads fasad, and these are the types of fasad that falls under that ayah, the Shari'i court, or the Muslim judge, has the right, as Allah mentioned in the ayah, and this is like verse 35, 36 from Surah Ma'idah. Either he is executed for raping or molesting, grown-ups, children, doesn't matter. This is a severe crime that can receive the death penalty from Islam. Or their arms and legs are cut off from the opposite direction. Or they're crucified. Very harsh punishments. Right? And we're not ashamed of it. This is our religion. Allah has decreed very harsh punishments for these type of filthy crimes. But this is the government's job. Right? So what you're supposed to do, if your family is not helping you, notify the authorities. This is your right. This is Islamic. This is mandatory. And why would not any family help? They're all sinners. If they shut down this situation, this is a severe crime that everyone will be accountable for on Yawmul Qiyamah. This is a huge question that they'll be asked by Allah. Allah forbid if someone's cousin molested their child, and they'll be like, no, it's my cousin, it's a shame in the family. You are equally guilty. And you better be ready to answer to Allah. And no one is ready to answer these type of questions. So under no circumstances is it Islamically allowed for a family to cover this type of thing and not take action. Even if it's your own brother, own uncle, doesn't matter. He has to face the full punishment of the law. We don't live in a Shari'i-based country, no problem. You're still supposed to call the authorities, the police, whatever it is, let them be arrested, jailed, whatever may be the case, the full extent that the law allows wherever we're living. So this is the Islamic rule. And this is mandatory upon families to, inshallah ta'ala, protect their children from ever falling into this situation. Alright, so that is it, inshallah. Everybody's hungry.